Today we're focusing on a type of graph called a line graph. It typically will include points, just like how we have been doing. We've been plotting points on a graph. Sometimes we connect the lines, sometimes we don't. On line graphs, we will. It's going to show trends, so we want to make sure that we are connecting those dots today on any of the graphs that we're working with. So today, our whole goal is to be able to make them and also interpret them. What does it mean to interpret something?
To like find out or something.
Find out, understand, know better. Okay, so today we are interpreting, so we are taking a line graph and figuring out what that line graph is representing. We did a little bit of that yesterday where it asked you, what does the point 4-2 actually mean? And you had to figure out, oh, it means that on the fourth day there were 2 films or I forget what the problem was, but it was something along those lines. Okay, so the table shows the heights of a bamboo plant over several days. We're going to graph that data. So this is not one that you have. So I'm going to do this one as an example, and you're just following along with me up on the board because you don't have this paper in front of you. Okay, so if I'm going to graph the data, don't forget, everything in my table is basically like an ordered pair. So I'm going to pull up the first piece of data, which is 1, 4. I'm going to plot that on my graph. Then 3, 8. Then 5, 16. Then 7, 22. And on this one, I don't have 22, so I'm going to make sure I plot it right in the middle where 22 would be. And then 9, 36. So again, you don't have this. You're just following along with me up on the board. Okay, it says draw line segments to connect the points in your graph from left to right. So I would connect the dots just like this, kind of like how you did when you did that activity with the flowers, where you connected point to point to point. We're going to use the result to estimate or predict the heights of the bamboo plant on the following days. So now I'm able to see, if I zoom in here, I'm able to see that that line is still crossing over. Even on the days where I don't have a point, I can see where it would maybe be close to crossing over. Does everybody see how that line helps us visualize where the height would be maybe on day 2 where I don't have a point? Okay, so on day 2, it's pretty close to, what would this be considered? Right between 4 and 8. It crosses right here. So between 4 and 8, what would this number be between 4 and 8? 6.
Yeah.
Good.
I knew that.
So then down here, I'm going to say that on day 2, it's close to 6 inches. I am estimating, I'm predicting. I maybe don't know exact, but I can get pretty close, okay? On day 4, here's day 4 here. It looks like it crosses about right here. What point is this at? 12. Okay, what about day 6? Come over to day 6, go up.
16.
It's
18. 20.
probably close to 20. We could just round up and say it's close to 20. Okay, it's not exact, but that's okay because it's really close to it. If we were trying to get exact, maybe it's like 19 and a half or something, but we're just going to round it to 20 because of this word right here, estimate. It doesn't have to be exact. Okay, for day 8 and then day 10. So let's look at day 8. Here's that. All the way up here, it crosses at about 28. Good. And then day 10, if I kept drawing my line, where do I think it might end up?
40.
Maybe 40 or even 42. 40 would be about here, but if I keep trending up like this and I kept extending that line, it would be all the way up here to even 42. Okay, because remember I'm isn't that right? No.
No, because it's not.
Oh, it's not quite there. Yeah, it would be about right here between. So it'd be about 42-ish. Okay, now because of that word estimate, it is okay if you got like 40, 42, 43, like somewhere around there, that would be okay. So we said 28 here, we'll say 42 here. Okay, the next one, this page you do have. So we have a completed example at the top. It defines what a line graph is for us. So a line graph uses line segments to show how data values change over time. So that's what I was saying at the beginning of today's lesson. We are going to be doing the same thing we've been doing, plotting points, but today the difference is we are connecting those points to show the trend or the change that is happening from one point of data to the next point of data, because it doesn't just stop. Okay, our age, if we're looking at this table here, our age doesn't stop. We keep aging, okay? Between 1 month to 2 months, there are days in between. So our weight will continue to go up as our age continues to go up, okay? Hopefully at some point, our weight doesn't keep going up drastically like it does as you are growing right now, and we eventually kind of level out, and we just kind of stay around the same size once we're fully grown, okay? Now it says, we're gonna make a line graph of the data. Between which 2 months of age did the dog gain the most weight? So think about a puppy, okay? Has anybody ever had a puppy before?
I have. My puppy
And
died.
then, okay, and then think about how much that puppy grew just in the first year. Okay, they're tiny, they get big fast, so they grow rapidly. Okay, all of my data to show how much that puppy grew is right here. It says you always want to begin by writing the ordered pairs that correspond to the data in the table. So like 110, that point goes here. The ordered pair 220 here, ordered pair 330 here, and so on. So the dog gained the most weight between 3 and 4 months. You can tell that's got the sharpest jump between 3 and 4 months, okay? Guys, we don't have much time, so it is important that we are not having those side conversations in the middle of the lesson. If you have a question, raise your hand, okay? Okay, how much do you think the dog will weigh when it is 7 months old? So notice again, our biggest jump is from 3 to 4 months, but look what's happening from 4 to 5 months, 5 to 6 months. What do you think is going to happen from 6 to 7 months? Do you think I'm going to have a really sharp increase again, or do you think it may be kind of along the same pattern? Probably the same pattern. So we could estimate it. Now again, we're estimating, so we're predicting. What do we think the dog will weigh when it is 7 months old?
I think it would just be the same.
Maybe about 60 pounds. Okay, so if I jump straight over here, it's going to be about 60 pounds. Great job. Okay, guys, we got to keep going. So all these side conversations, we've got to keep going. All right, number 2. The table shows the heights of a seedling over 7 days. What's a seedling? It's like a baby plant.
The thing that
Okay.
you buy from the store and you put it in the ground.
Okay, yes. So it's like it sprouts. It's like a little sprout from a seed. It's a seedling, teeny tiny little baby plant. Okay. So day 0, before it sprouts, it has no height. It is just 0 centimeters. Okay, that makes sense, right? But then as it continues to get water and sunlight and grow, day 1, it's grown a teensy tiny bit. It is now 2 centimeters. So I'm going to put a point at 0, 0, and then at 1, 2. On day 2, it has grown to 4 centimeters. Day 3, it has grown to 8 centimeters. Day 4 has grown to all the way up to 18 centimeters. Day 5, it's now up to 22 centimeters. 6 is up to 24 centimeters, and on day 7, it's finally up to 26 centimeters. Now, I want to connect my points, because when I connect my points, it is showing that continued growth in between the full days. So it doesn't just shoot up like from day 1 to day 2. It's not just like, boom, now I'm 2 centimeters, and then boom, now I'm 4. It's like growing gradually. Does everybody understand why we're connecting the points? It's not just magically bigger one day. It is growing slowly each day. Okay, between which 2 days did the seedling grow the most? Looking at this data, everybody needs to be looking at their paper or at the board.
3 and 4.
Between days 3 and 4 is my sharpest jump from here to here. All right, so when it says between which 2 days did the seedling grow the most, I am looking at where the largest jump is. So from 3 to 4. So I'm going to list my answer right here between days 3 and 4. And then how tall do you think the seedling will be after maybe 8 days? My biggest jump was already from here to here at another pretty big jump, but now it looks like it's kind of increasing at a steady rate. So maybe about right here if I kept that same pattern. So about 28 centimeters. Good. Okay, once you have that completed, you can turn to the next page. It says this graph shows the total numbers of likes a social media page had over 7 days. How many total likes did the page have on day 4? I'm already given the graph. I'm now pulling information from the graph of data. So how many total likes after day 4? 75. Does everybody see? Here are my days down here. So day 4 up, I'm at 75. Number 6, how many more total likes did the page have on day 7 than on day 3? So I'm going to come over here and look at day 7. I had 225.
Whoa, 225.
Versus on day 3, I only had 50. So if I'm finding how many more, that means I'm subtracting.
175.
And so my answer is 175 likes. Okay, number 7 says, how many total likes do you think the page will have on day 8? Look at my current trend right now. From 4 to 5, I increased how much?
From 75 to 150.
50. From day 5 to day 6, I increased another 50. From 6 to 7, I increased another 50. So if I kept that same pattern, I could assume that on day 8, I would increase another 50, and I would have how many likes? 275. All right, here's the last one. It says, and we're given the graph already, it tells us the graph shows the number of magazines sold at a newsstand over 7 days. It wants us to use the line graph to complete the table. So with your tables, I'm going to let you interpret that data. If you notice, it is increasing by days. My days are down here, so you've got to find that matching coordinate that goes with it. Try to answer the questions 9 through 11 also, and then we'll check it together. So looking at number 8, you and your groups just work together. We're moving on, and we're going to check everything that we just did in our groups. So in your groups, you determined what the missing pieces were in the table. So for day 1, there were 60 magazines sold. Day 2, there were 120. 3, there were also 120. Day 4 and 5 both had 90. Then on day 6, we dip back down to 60. And then on day 7, we end up at 90 magazines sold again. So on which 2 days were the most sold? You're looking for the 2 dots that are the highest up for magazines sold. So that's going to be on days 2 and 3. Day 1, they only sold 60. Days 2, y'all listen. On days 2 and 3, we have the highest data points on our graph. They're way up here at 120. So day 2 and 3 have the highest number of magazines sold. For number 10, it says on which 2 days were the least magazines sold. You're looking for the points that are the lowest. Here, 60 is my lowest number, so that's going to be day 1 and day 6. That's my least number of magazines sold. And then number 11 says how many total magazines over the 7 days were sold. What you have to do is you have to add all of that data together. So you can pull out this data here from the table that you wrote in, or you can look at each one of these points again. But you're going to add up all of those numbers together, and you end up with 630 magazines.
Let's go. We did it right.